Hi everyone, this is Young Happy Confident, the podcast for all of you who at a young age want to find out who you really are, what kind of life you want to live, and to get the tools to achieve your dreams. Hi, and welcome to Young Happy Confident. Today's guest is Pia, my dear childhood friend, which is a very special moment. I'm so happy to be able to share thoughts around life with you. Pia is not only very, very creative. All her life she's been ambitious, had set very high goals for herself. She has reached them, many of them. She's had projects going on all the time, very many creative projects. She has two big passions in life. I would say that's interior design and fashion. So she always is an inspiration on that level as well. But what we're going to talk about today is the fact that you realized in an adult age that there has been something that has maybe framed yourself a little bit, like break yourself or made life a little bit more difficult, and you didn't even realize until a couple of years ago that you are highly sensitive.
Yes, that's true.
When and how did that come up?
Well, that came up when I had just had two children, my daughters, Sophia and Stella. And I was then 35, well, in my 30s. And life became very overwhelming. Obviously, you don't get so much sleep when you have small children, and everything just seemed very, very difficult and well, overwhelming is really the word. And I found out when I went with my husband to couples therapy, and we hadn't said very many things until she said, well, Pia, have you ever thought that maybe you are highly sensitive? And that's when I started reading about it, and I took a test online, and I read about a woman called Elaine Aron. She has written a book, The Highly Sensitive Person, and everything that she said was more or less like, oh my God, that's me. That is who she's talking about. Yeah. And I also then realized that my daughter, my firstborn daughter, that I had similar sort of behavior as she did when I was a child, but I didn't realize that it's because I'm more sensitive than many others.
Yeah. I remember you said, after having been to that woman and found out that you're highly sensitive, that you were relieved. You kind of finally got an answer to a couple of things.
Yeah, no, I was definitely relieved, because I suddenly understood that there's a reason why I react so strongly at times when other people don't react at all. And it was almost as if, well, I like describing things in analogies. And it was like getting a set of keys to a bunch of doors that were unlocked.
Yeah.
And then I suddenly everything just clicked. I understood.
Made sense.
It made sense. Everything made sense.
Yeah.
And by knowing that, I could also start the process of, well, just coping better.
Yeah.
Because today's world is not made for sensitive people.
And how would you describe it? I know a couple of things. You said you can sense how people feel. You can sense everything in a room. It gets exhausting because you feel and feel and feel.
Yeah. I can definitely, and this is sort of one of the disturbing facts or factors of it, that I can be in a small store or a cafe or a restaurant, and there might be people next to me who are arguing, or my third sense is sort of listening in, and I'm suddenly in that emotion with those people, and I am carrying whatever it is that they are. I get it, and sometimes my husband says, "Pia, you know, can you focus on?"
It's not
And then I
your
have to
problem.
leave. It's not my problem,
Yeah.
but I sort of carry everything.
You're like a sponge.
I'm like a sponge, but I'm becoming better at not being a sponge anymore. But yeah, and so it's a certain sense of being overwhelmed,
Yes, of
like
course.
overwhelmingly scared, overwhelmingly happy. Like if
Yeah.
I'm happy, I'm really happy.
Yeah. And I remember you said when friends of ours were teasing each other.
Yes, this is sort of this was in high school. So in Finland, I was about 16, and of course, I had now thinking about it. I see many moments before I was 16 where it was a clear sign of sensitivity. Actually, I have a very good example from when I was 12.
Oh.
Can I share it?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
So it's also a little bit funny and it's also a little bit shameful, but we were going on a scout camp. And in a Sea Scout camp, and we were all going to sleep in this sort of military tents. And like 10 kids in the same tent, and I mean noisy and smelly, and I mean boys and girls in the same tent, and I mean just like loud. And I had done that 1 year, so the next year I decided to bring my own tent. I wanted to go on the camp, and it was sort of like a coping mechanism that I want to go on the camp. I mean, it's not going to cost them more if I have my own tents. I'm just going to have my own tent. And then, and everybody was sort of laughing, but you know, I could give them that.
It's just a little different.
Just a little bit different. Just can't deal with those big. But anyway, so I was in my tent, and then there was this one girl who arrived late, and there was no place for her in the tent.
She asked you.
And I mean, everybody looked at me, and they're like, "So, I mean, can you take her in?" And I was faced with an ethical dilemma. Like, of course, I have to say yes. And she snored, and I couldn't sleep. So I had no plan C. I didn't go to any more scout camps after that, I think. But that's definitely, you know, like everybody thought I was being ridiculous, but I was just, you know, that was one way for me to cope.
Yeah.
And then another thing happened, and if I would have had earplugs, probably it wouldn't have been a problem. But I was so sensitive to sound, and my sleep was so important. But I didn't realize then. I mean, it wasn't because I wanted to be different.
No. But I remember that there were limits to how much people could joke with you as well.
That's true, yeah.
Because if you made a joke,
I've always been very sort of inviting to tell about my own failures and mistakes,
but
and
don't dare joking.
But there was a very clear, invisible line. I guess everybody has it, but for me it was somehow different. That it just, after a while, it was just enough, and then I couldn't handle it anymore, and I couldn't really describe or understand myself why I became so incredibly upset, even though I knew that it was a joke. But suddenly everything was
just
like
sad, and you had to leave the situation.
and even though people were like, "We're just kidding," somehow there must have been some element in truth of what they said that I felt. Anyway, I just needed to leave.
Yeah.
And I would go, and I would be away for like, we had these in school, these hours that were sort of empty. And I would just go away, and I didn't want to be with anybody. I just needed to be alone. And that was also like a coping mechanism. But then I went back, and then everything was fine. But and nobody actually judged me for it. I wasn't excluded because of it. Yeah.
But I think it's like amazing. In a way, of course, it's really, really tough to be that sensitive and to have all these things affecting you so much. But I also think there are a couple of positive things, very, very positive things about this highly sensitivity and being a highly sensitive person. And one, you said yourself today, is that since you need a kind of peace around you, you also see beautiful things. You're good at putting harmony into
I mean,
a room
and a lot of big artists are in fact highly sensitive, because you have to be sensitive to the. There's like a constant line between. I mean, you have to be on the border of daring to dive into the unknown, which sensitivity really is, and you just need to have a certain calm around you, and it could be a calm in the sense that things need to be very organized.
Yes.
Or just that
colors,
and symmetry, and I mean, I'm not saying that all highly sensitive people are interior designers, but you definitely need to have a sensitivity in you to see things, because one of the things with being highly sensitive is that you notice details, and you hear sounds that nobody else hears perhaps, and you see things, and I mean, I can be in a room with my husband, and I might have in our home, and I might have changed something, and I think it's so obvious that I just moved something really big, but he will not notice until. And I've started to test him on this, that it can take up to an hour or two before he's like, "Hey, you changed this," and I'm like, "God, how can you not have seen that?" I mean, like,
yeah. And I think it's a big advantage as well that you can see things, details that suit together and creates a very peaceful surrounding.
Yeah, I mean in the spaces that I am in, I'm constantly looking to create some sort of harmony.
Yeah.
And I think that's also because I need it inside. And this is also something that we discussed. There's so many things that I want to say about it, but we chose a few. That it's very important, at least for me, as a highly sensitive person, to have a sort of structure in my life during my normal everyday life. When I'm on holiday, I can be more flexible, but when I need when I need to perform, I need to have structure and I need to have routines.
Yes.
And
you said earlier on you need not only the room to be quiet if you're working on a goal, but you also need a structure and a routine,
and not
a daily routine, I guess.
And not so much visual disturbance. So, for example, in school, at university, I realized that I need to sit at the front, as almost in the lap of the professor. Like I need to be in the front so that there's nothing, and I'm not gonna go, I actually started doing this in Maastricht, where I studied, that I told, my friends there, that I don't mind sitting with you, but I will be listening. Because I knew that I need to listen and I need to take notes. No, I was not cool at all. That was the only way for me to learn.
Yep. But that's amazing, because you've always known, this is who I am, this is how I need to structure my life.
Well, I didn't always know. It took me until university before I realized, because I thought that I could, just fly by. Couldn't.
But I have to say, there is one other thing that is very precious. If you have a friend or somebody in your close surrounding who is highly sensitive, they have a certain quality which other people don't, especially in our society of today. I think people get very tough and cold and don't feel that much. And I think having you as a friend, I've realized we can go very deep into topics. You're very authentic. You're not even capable of playing a game or trying to be somebody you're not. Plus that you have a lot of empathy. And these three things, I think, are very precious. So there are good things as well.
Yes, absolutely. There are definitely good things. Once you sort of realize that first of all, to be highly sensitive, it's not a diagnosis. It's not an illness. It's not a mental disturbance. It's just a way of being, and about 30% of the world population are highly sensitive.
Wow.
Yeah. And like I described to you in the beginning as well, that there are also certain animals have a very high degree of sensitivity. They know when, like especially in Africa, on the, certain animals feel that they can feel that the earth is moving, that now we are being attacked soon, so we need to go and tell the other animals that we need to take a hike. and it's in the animal kingdom, it's you need it to survive.
Yeah. Yes. And what would you say? What kind of piece of advice would you give to those that are listening and that are maybe feeling, that's who I am. I am highly sensitive.
Well, I have. There are many books that are written on highly sensitive, to be a highly sensitive person and high sensitivity, and I would definitely recommend to read at least one of those books or listen to it, and take in what you feel is helpful. I bought a lot of books and I haven't read all of them, and it felt too overwhelming for me to start doing exercises. Because the thing that is really important, which I realized quite soon after I had been introduced to the whole concept, was that it doesn't give me the right to expect of people to treat me in a different way because I'm so sensitive, even though I do tell my husband every now and then to remember I'm highly sensitive. This is something that is going to make your life both richer, but also more difficult, in the sense that you will have to constantly monitor yourself and your emotions, unfortunately. But once you know it, you will always have to, in certain situations, and you will become better at it, but you have to think, is this a real, I mean, of course, all the feelings that you're feeling are there. You can never say that you can't have that feeling, but you have to weigh it somehow, that is this rational? Is this a rational, should I react on this feeling? Or should I maybe just take a couple of breaths, think about it? And so it's a constant struggle with your mind.
So it helps to have some structure, some calm, routine.
Yeah, and if possible, start the morning by yourself. Meditate. I mean, I haven't done that yet,
but you have another one. I
have another one. I go running in the mornings, and that's my before the rest of the family wakes up. I put on my shoes and I go running, and I listen to music or to nothing, or to a podcast, and that's sort of a moment that I don't have to speak. I don't have to perform. I can just be myself, and then I come into our house, which is often filled with questions, and I need to perform immediately, which it is for most family mothers. But take the time to also be alone, even though you are extrovert, as I am. We all need to set a boundary, because otherwise we will be overwhelmed.
Good. Thank you so much. Keep being exactly the way you are, highly sensitive. And deep and authentic. And for you guys out there listening, think about it. Could it be that you belong to this 1/3 of the world population? And in that case, it's not a bad thing. There are things that you can feel that other ones can't. It's just a question about learning how to live with it and cope with it. Yeah. Looking forward to seeing you next week again with an exciting guest. Maybe you have some inspiration to share. Should be here. Yeah. Sign up. Give us your feedback.